So just keep in mind, this is going to be on Friday. Be able to describe the two main muscles involved in flight. Of course, there's going to be lots of muscles that birds have, but the two main ones that we are concerned about are the pectoral muscles, which pulls the wings down or depresses the wings, and the second one is called the supracoracoideus that also pulls down. Again, notice these have the same action, they're pulling down, but because of that tendon wrapped around the head of the humerus, it has a different resulting force as opposed to the pectoral. So that raises the wings or pulls the wings up, whichever you're more comfortable with. Okay. And also on Friday, don't forget those identifications on page 381. Okay. And for some of you who are gone today or gone yesterday, we had gone through, you were always given questions on the exam that we didn't go over in this review. You had to know what makes a sponge, what makes a cnidarian belong in that phylum, what makes an arthropod, what makes a mollusk, okay? We talked about different aspects that make up the feather. That could very well be on there. We should know what makes up the feather. There's 5 parts. There's a quill that goes from the skin to where the veins start. Then the shaft is the rest of the way. So what's branching off of the shaft? Veins, barbs, and barbules. Okay. They're slowly coming in, one after another. I will take it, and I will put it with the rest of them. Okay, we're increasing in numbers here. Okay, so again, just know those main muscles involved in flight, and then one more we want to go over, and that would be as follows. Okay. It's not that we're making comparisons with the Archaeopteryx. That's not what we're doing here. Past, you could use that as an example, but what did modern birds have to evolve to take flight? Okay, so just think of, there used to be animals that maybe ran across the ground, that maybe glided from one area to another. There's certain mammals that can still do that. That'd be a flying squirrel, and just means that the flying part is kind of a vague term, because squirrels don't fly. They do more, what do you think? Yeah, they more so glide, but because it's just pictured of going from one treetop to another, that they just got the name flying squirrels. Okay, so for animals that were slowly making this transition, okay, around the time of the Archaeopteryx, some adaptations or aspects of that the modern birds would have to take place. So, in order to take flight, what are some examples you think, and they're present in the Archaeopteryx? It is something about teeth. What about it? Okay, so when you're talking about losing teeth, what does that mean? That we're trying to shed as much what off the body? Trying to get rid of as much weight as possible. So, teeth were, I suppose you could say, lost. Okay. Now, we're not concerned about where that's made up from. That's the function of the gizzard that actually grinds the food up, since they don't have teeth. That makes sense. So, losing teeth was an adaptation that allowed birds to take flight. Okay? You're right, but we want to be a little more specific with what that means. You gave the definition. What's the term when bones become hollow? Well, don't say it like a question. Yes, pneumatized. Maybe you both said it at the same time. But Gotta remember, I'm getting old. I sometimes don't hear as well. Okay, so we say it starts with a P, even though that's silent. So we're going to say bones became pneumatized. Which means we could just say hollow, but I want you to know more so of the actual term. Became pneumatized. Okay? Two more things we're going for. Okay? So when you think of eating anything off of the most domesticated bird that we use, either the turkey or the chicken, okay, yes, you're going to have parts. You could have chicken wings. That's why Buffalo Wild Wings gets its name. There's also drumsticks that you could use, but probably what is the most consumed portion, the second most consumed portion after the wings, and that would be the breast. What's a better name for that? What's the name of that muscle? Say it again. Yeah, pectorals. Okay, so strong and large pectoral muscles were developed. Now, you might think, well, my gosh, we're looking at a little robin. How can we say large pectoral muscles in there? Well, when you're looking at the size of that muscle compared to the rest and to its body, that's where that ratio comes in. And then the most obvious one, feathers. We want to say strong, light, weight, keratinous, feathers were developed. Okay. That's it. That's what we want you to know about describing that of birds. And of course, we could say, well, why is their respiratory system so efficient? What about their digestive system? But I think when anyone thinks of any type of bird, it's going to be what you see flying in the sky. So we're just going to talk about what the most common aspects of birds are, which is flight, and then how did that take place. Okay. But other questions asking tomorrow, why is the avian respiratory system so efficient? Does it have just lungs? No, it also has what? Air sacs. Okay? So, good to know things like that. There's a division of birds that we talked about. What's that? You have the ones that fly, the ones that can't. What's that? Carnite and ratite. Okay? That's an example. And then, of course, you have your vocab terms that you could look over. Okay. All right. So the last thing would be if you choose to do bonus questions, have them done for tomorrow. Okay. So look over your papers. Okay. We've been talking about the last pretty much 4 weeks. Okay. Just glance over those, and if you're paying attention, a lot of that, especially for those of you going on to diesel mechanics, being electricians, whatever it is in a tech school, just listening is probably going to be well over 40 to maybe 50% of being successful once you leave high school. Okay, and for those of you going to college, same thing. Just even paying attention is going to take you a long way. Okay. I don't even know if I have that spelled right. The Curse of the Bambino. This around the 19 teens, in other words, 1915, 16, 17, 18, 19 into the 1920s. Boston had this player, said, oh, this guy, we call him the Bambino, we're going to trade him to New York. What do we know? So then once that happened, it was called the Curse of the Bambino. So who was that player? Looks like you almost have a smirk on your face, like you already know who it is. You do? Okay. All right. And so that's the way to make some money. People are going to say, Shandon, who is it? Who is it? I'll give you $5. Here I'm giving you good suggestions. Way to make money. Okay. Back to this. See, I make these questions up just as we go. I don't write them down and keep a copy of them, because then you might get them in multiple classes. Something will pop in my mind here. I guess I'll put the dashes there. That's his name. Okay, so which Democratic nominee is expected to announce his throwing his hat in the ring with the rest of the 20 Democrats? So He's a pretty powerful political figure. At least he was for a good 8 years. He's not even in the race, and he's leading a lot of the polls and not even in the race. That's true power. Okay, those are your 2 bonus questions. These identifications, don't forget what makes a feather, powered flight, how did it occur, okay? Strong chest muscles, pneumatized bones, feathers, losing as much weight as possible, like in the teeth. Then the 2 muscles involved in flight, pectorals pulls the wings down, supracoracoideus pulls the wings up, but know how they perform that function. All right, so that is it for the rest of the week. Part 1 tomorrow, Part 2 Friday.